Hi, I'm Noel Bentley. I'm the host of TEDxBearCreekPark. And today I have one of the speakers from TEDxBearCreekPark 2021, Dr. Brandon Tang. He's a resident physician in internal medicine at University of British Columbia. How are you doing, Brandon?
I'm well, Noel. Thanks so much for having me. How are
Yeah,
you?
good to see you. We can tell you that you're probably pretty busy today.
Yeah, I'm at Surrey Memorial Hospital actually, so just finished my shift in the ICU.
Oh, fair enough. We appreciate you taking the time to do this interview. What I'd like to do is go ahead and if you want to give those listening and watching a little bit more background about who you are and how you, sort of came to this point to be delivering your TEDx talk.
Absolutely. So my name's Brandon. I am a resident physician in internal medicine, as Noel said. So what that means is that I finished medical school, officially become a doctor after all those years of school, but I still have a few more years of supervised practice before I can work completely independently. And I'm writing my big board exams actually March, the day after the TED, or March, the day before the TED Talk. I am originally from Mississauga, Ontario, where I was born and raised. My parents are immigrants from China and Vietnam. And growing up, we had a pretty humble upbringing. My parents have that classic story. They came to Canada literally, apparently, with $20 in their pocket. But if that wasn't enough, my dad likes to add that on his first day in Canada, there was someone he met who needed it more, so he gave it away. And I tell that because I think those are the kind of values that we were raised with. That's what I heard my whole childhood. So from pretty early on, the idea of being a doctor really spoke to me. And I've been so lucky to have all the opportunities to get to where I am today, and so excited to be doing this TED Talk as well.
Great, thank you. And in that vein, is there any way you can tell us about what you're going to speak about, what your TEDx talk is about, without too many spoilers here, right?
Of course, they got to come to the event if they want to hear the talk, right? So everyone has had an experience either in the healthcare system or they've had a loved one who's been in it. And I remember when I was a teenager, I had to go to the emergency department, and it was so chaotic and crazy. Now that I'm on the other side as a healthcare provider, it's equally chaotic and crazy and disorganized. And I found that surprising when I first started. So my talk conceptualizes all of this as a metaphor called assembly line medicine. And I explore, how both patients and providers feel in the current healthcare system, which I describe as assembly line medicine, but more importantly, how we can do better, which I describe a potential solution as a deep work culture. And importantly, I think these words, this language is helpful because I want it to be a nomenclature that people can use to describe how they're feeling. So maybe after people hear my talk in the hospital, they might say like, oh, I could really use some space for deep work right now, to be able to give them a label to how they're feeling and to use that to communicate to others.
Right. Yeah. I'm curious. Are those the kinds of things that you want to see people do after your TED Talk? What would you like people to ideally take action even more
Hmm.
so?
So without giving too many spoilers, in the talk, I talk about the current state as assembly line medicine and the future state as a culture where we can make room for something I've called deep work, which is based in a book, which is a term that came from Cal Newport's book. And after hearing my talk, I would absolutely love if people start embracing this concept, that it's understood that providers can't be constantly interrupted. They need time to think. They need that sacred time to connect with their patients. Like if I was still at work, my pager was on, I wouldn't be surprised if I got interrupted twice during this 10-minute conversation. I would not be surprised if, while we're talking, overhead, the buzzer goes off calling a code blue in the hospital. It's a constant madness in the hospital where we work.
Well, no doubt we can call it challenging, but that's ridiculously understates what it is like to be someone in your position. I'm curious, given your perspective and having done the work it is, what is it like, or what are the challenges of giving an actual TEDx talk?
Hmm. It's been a great experience. And first of all, I'm been so lucky to have like amazing coaches like yourself and all the other speakers to go through this experience with. It's really been a team effort. I think I have a newfound appreciation for what it takes to do a TED Talk. When we were writing the script, every sentence, every word was so thoughtful and planned out. The pronunciation, the speed, the word choice, everything you had to think about. And then after we got the script nailed down, and it was all about the delivery, all about the body language and the gestures, and everything was just so well thought out. And it's really hours and hours and hours to plan an excellent 10-minute talk. Alan Warburton, who's the founder of TEDxBearCreekPark, he described the process as preparing for a marathon. I think that is a great metaphor. You've got to train for it. You got to put in the hours, the blood, sweat, and the tears, but it's going to be worth it. And I'm so excited for March 13th.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm kind of curious, in terms of TED Talks, you've probably seen a lot yourself. Are the ones that have been influential that you count among your favorites or know off by heart?
Growing up, I watched so many TED Talks. That TED YouTube channel was on my bookmarks. It was a place where I went where I needed inspiration. One of my favorite talks of all time, though, isn't actually a TED Talk, but totally embraces all the values and what TED is all about. It's actually Steve Jobs' commencement address at Stanford University. And I believe the first line of the talk is, I'm going to tell you 3 stories. That's it, just 3 stories. And one of them is about failure and how only looking back can you understand how all the events in your life sort of connect together and lead to greater meaning. And with that, he was referring to getting fired from Apple, company he founded, and then one day coming back to it. And I think that talk really speaks to me because embracing failure is such an important thing in healthcare. We're all human, we all make mistakes. When people look at me, they see a young physician, they say I'm too young to be a doctor, they see the awards, they see the accomplishments, but they don't see all the failures behind that. How I didn't get into the program I wanted in university the first time, how I wasn't accepted into medical school the first time around. And I think that embracing all of that makes you humble, it makes you a better physician, it makes you a better person. So definitely that commencement address that Steve Jobs gave is something that I revisit every few years. It's something that really sticks with me.
Oh, fair enough. It's true. We don't often see what happens preceding the success. But now I got to ask: have you ever applied to give a TEDx talk before?
I have not. This is a totally new experience for me. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if people go through the process many times. It's a challenge, as they said. It's like a marathon. You got to put in the work. And people only see that amazing 10-minute talk. They don't see all the hours that go into it.
Oh, very much so. What goes behind the scenes is always, that's the 90% of the iceberg for sure. Or it could even be more. And we're sort of starting to wrap up here. I'm kind of curious if you could let people know, give them your elevator pitch. Why should they come see Brandon Tang on Saturday, March 27th?
Either you or your loved one, someone you know, has been sick, has been in the healthcare system, and the last year has shown us with COVID that we're all going to be patients one day. So healthcare, assembly line medicine, this is a problem that affects all of us. So my talk is about how we can do better and what a future state in healthcare could look like. So I really think it's something that's relevant to every single person.
Great, thanks, Brandon. And just true to your word, I mean, you're a gentleman who does so much work, not even as a physician, but for the residents and helping with education and textbooks and apps. So there's even more, below the surface for you. So we do appreciate you taking the time to do this interview. Give us a little bit more insight into who you are and why people are going to join us on, again, Saturday, March 27th is TEDx Bear Creek Park 2021. We have complimentary tickets and we'll see you there. All right. Thanks very much for joining, Brandon.
Thanks so much, Noel.